Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to the NoDQ live recap of the Wednesday Night War Week 1. We had the debut of All Elite Wrestling on TNT. We also had the 2 hours of NXT on the USA Network. I mainly watched AEW, but I did have both shows on at the same time. I had AEW on the television and I had NXT on my phone. I was focusing on AEW, but I did keep an eye out on what was going on with NXT. So keep that in mind. I will not be doing a letter grade for NXT. I will be going back and watching NXT in its entirety at some point so I can give it my full attention. I will mainly be talking about AEW here and their first night. We had 14,129 fans inside the former MCI Center. I'm not sure what it's called now, in Washington, D.C., the site of the 1997 Starrcade pay-per-view and many episodes of WCW Monday Nitro. Several Starrcades, actually, not just 97. Capital One Arena. Thank you for that, Michael Wayne. We had Tony Schiavone there along with Jim Ross and Excalibur as the announcers. AEW got right to the point. We started off with the opening video package. We had our pyro. We had the 3 announcers previewing all the matches for the show. Tony Schiavone brought up how this was the first wrestling show on TNT since 2001. Excalibur talked about how people from 80 countries around the world were in attendance. Over on NXT, I was keeping track of what was going on simultaneously. So at the same time this was happening, we had the NXT opening video package, and we had the first AEW match, which was Cody Rhodes, or just Cody, versus Sammy Guevara. Power Packers 90 with a $2 super chat says, "What a great show. What wrestling has been missing." Thank you for that, Power Packers. And LTG with a $2 super chat says, "Dynamite was good. I was hooked all night." We had this little video package between Cody and Sammy. Sammy was being very cocky, talking about how he's going to show everyone that he's the best ever. I guess that's his gimmick, that he's just this young, very brash, arrogant man who thinks he's going to be the greatest of all time. Cody, of course, got his pyro for his entrance. Meanwhile, on NXT, we had Mauro Ranallo doing the introduction for the show, and we went right into the NXT Championship match, which was Matt Riddle challenging Adam Cole. We had the footage shown from last week where Riddle was tapping out Cole. We had the ring introductions for Matt Riddle and Adam Cole while Cody was making his entrance. I will say this, I do have a few critiques about AEW. One of them is the entrance music. I'm not a fan of Guevara's entrance, Sammy Guevara, his music. A lot of the guys, with a few exceptions, I think have weak entrance music, and I'd love to see Jim Johnston in AEW. Now, I know he's doing something with Ring of Honor. He's doing the music for PCO in ROH. I think AEW needs to sign him. Jim Johnston is like one of those missing pieces in AEW. I think theme music is really important, and I think most of the themes just do not stand out in my own personal opinion. Now, maybe I'm not one to talk about music, but I just don't think they stand out. They're very generic songs in my opinion, and don't really bring out the characters as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully they do sign, I'm trying to say hopefully they sign Jim Johnston. I wanted to read off the super chat from Caleb Jacobs. He says, "Cody should have been sitting on the broken throne." I think it was best to move away from that. If Cody kept referencing Triple H, people would say, oh, they're just obsessed with WWE. And I don't really recall too much in terms of references to WWE on this show, which is good. I think, you threw your little shots out there, focus on doing your own thing, and I feel like AEW did that for the most part. Now, one thing about the two shows, watching them side by side, if I'm a casual fan and I'm watching these shows, I'm switching back and forth. I'm going to be more impressed with AEW. AEW was in a big arena. It looked full, even though there were hundreds of scalper seats that were still out as of this morning. It still looked full, though there was one camera shot where you could see like a whole bunch of empty rows of ringside seats. But other than that, it looked really good on television. It looked major league. When you look at NXT by comparison, NXT looks like a second-rate wrestling promotion, even though WWE production is top-notch for NXT. It's the overall atmosphere. Like AEW looks like the A show, and NXT looks like a B show. So that's just my own impression when I'm watching these shows back to back. AEW looked way more colorful. I love that video opening that they have with all the different colors, and I think it looks fresh. AEW came off as fresh, and NXT was very polished from what I can see. And the last couple weeks with NXT, it's extremely polished. But I think AEW just had a nice different look to it that I think is going to be more appealing to casual viewers. Again, just my take on it. So the story of the match with Cody and Sammy Guevara was that Sammy, again, very cocky and arrogant. Crowd was firmly behind Cody. The announcers were doing really well. Tony Schiavone was bringing up the history. Schiavone was almost like Mike Tenay from the Nitro days. Schiavone was doing the Mike Tenay role where he was talking about some of the history. He brought up how Baltimore, the site of Full Gear, has a lot of history behind it. And Excalibur was also helpful, adding his own analysis to the matches. He brought up the 20-minute time limit. And Excalibur also brought up some history during the show of his own, later in the show, talking about Brandon Cutler's history with the Young Bucks. So Schiavone served a purpose, and Excalibur served a purpose, and Jim Ross was doing play-by-play. So I felt like the announcers were all doing something different and bringing something to the table. That was definitely a positive. Mike B with a $5 super chat. So for those of you that are watching this for the first time, we have something that is very polarizing here on NoDQ.com. It's called the Super Chat Championship. For every $5 you donate, you can be the champion. And Mike B says, I have an NXT question for you, but I forgot what it was, so I'm just going to give you a donation anyways. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we'll say, via the Cody Disaster Kick, Mike B is the new NoDQ Super Chat champion. Nico with a $2 Super Chat says, greetings from the Capital One Arena. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show, Nico. Let me know what you thought about it, and thank you for the Super Chat. The story again with Cody and Sammy. Sammy was getting too cocky, although he did use some heel tactics in this match. He shoved Brandy basically to shield himself from Cody's dive, and Cody inadvertently took out Brandy Rhodes, Cody's wife. Crowd was chanting asshole at Sammy. The match went about 10 minutes. Right around the 10-minute mark, we had some near falls. Cody got a near fall with the disaster kick, and then Cody hit a reverse superplex for a near fall. Crowd was chanting AEW. Sammy even came back and got a near fall, but in the end, Cody won with an inside cradle. After the match, Tony Schiavone came into the ring and was going to interview Cody. They had a hug, and then Sammy came up to Cody and shook Cody's hand, but that's when Chris Jericho showed up and brutally attacked poor Cody to set up their upcoming match at AEW Full Gear. Paul Jackson, 1988, with a $2 super chat says, Chris Jericho, still one of the best heels in the business. I agree with you on that for sure. Jericho with a great old school heel beatdown here. And meanwhile, as this was all going down over on NXT, we had a very lengthy match. And again, I was mostly focused on AEW, but it looked like it was very intense back and forth. Riddle and Cole, very physical match from what I could see. Cole did end up retaining the title. And after the match was over, we had Finn Balor show up. And this is when I was really torn between both shows. I'm like, do I watch the Jericho beatdown or do I watch Finn Balor? Finn Balor showed up in NXT and announced that he is back in NXT. Looks like Finn Balor is going to be on NXT moving forward and not part of Raw or SmackDown. Crowd was chanting "Welcome back," and this was a pretty cool moment on NXT. As this was happening, you had Chris Jericho hitting Cody with the belt. There was actually a commercial break. Both shows were doing this. During the commercial breaks, sometimes, not every segment, but sometimes we had a picture-in-picture. We had several of these on both shows. And when AEW had their first break, we saw Chris Jericho hitting Cody with the championship belt. Gary with a $2 super chat says, NXT needs to focus on their current roster. Hashtag AEW. Well, you gotta have some star power on NXT. So I don't blame Finn Balor being used in NXT. I mean, it definitely got people talking, and that's what you want to do on this show. People are talking about in the chat room that Balor got demoted back to NXT. I mean, hey, if he's still getting paid the big bucks, then good for him, you know? Maybe give him a break. Maybe you can. I know some people are like, well, what about the Demon versus Bray Wyatt? I mean, you don't want to do that right away anyway. So why not have Balor in NXT for a while, and eventually you could bring him back to challenge Bray Wyatt as the Demon. So you can always do that down the line. I mean, I'm fine with Balor being in NXT for now. Let him recharge his batteries and build himself up again. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys here. It looks like I just froze. Can you guys see or hear me? Shanti with a $5 super chat. Time out, guys. We're having some technical difficulties here. Apparently you guys can hear me, but you cannot see me. So let me try getting back in this chat real quick. People are saying that they can hear me, but they cannot see me. One second here. All right, we are back. I apologize for that. A little bit of technical difficulties here. Something with YouTube. I'm not sure what happened. That hasn't happened in a while where the stream actually crashed. I guess maybe that's a good sign. A lot of people are watching right now. So if you're enjoying this video, please tell a friend. Spread the word. Let them know about this live stream. Let's get as many people watching this as possible. I mean, this is a very exciting time for wrestling right now. Okay, so Shanti with a $5 super chat is the brand new NoDQ super chat champion of the world. We'll say Shanti wins it via Goldust or Dustin Rose's Shattered Dreams to poor Mike B. Looks like everybody is in the chat room here. By the way, no problem. It's not my internet because I was streaming both shows at the same time and I had no issues the entire time. So it's not my internet. It must be something with YouTube being overloaded right now. Anyways, let's get back to the recap here. Finn Balor showed up, as I mentioned. Let's go ahead and get back to AEW. We had a video package for Shayna Baszler versus Candice LeRae. And AEW came back from the break. Chris Jericho set up 2 chairs on the outside and powerbombed Cody Rhodes onto the 2 chairs. And then he said, I am Chris Jericho, and I am the champion of AEW. And then we got a recap of all the stuff that happened. Really good angle here, although I do have a criticism about this, which I'll get to later. This was a pretty brutal beatdown. Let's move on here. We had Brandon Cutler come out for his entrance for his match with MJF. And we had on NXT, we had Velveteen Dream come out for a promo. And I'm like, what do I do here? You got 2 of the best promos in wrestling right now on at the same exact time. You got Velveteen Dream on one channel, and on the other channel you have MJF. MJF cut a really good promo, just doing the heel stick. Really good stuff here. And fairly quick match here. I mean, glorified squash. MJF tapped him out. And we had a turnbuckle cam, which was used during this match, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we had another commercial break. 8 minutes and 37 seconds into this show. Not 8 minutes, 37 minutes into the show. 8:37 is what I was trying to say. 37 minutes into the show, we had both shows on commercial break at the same time. When AEW came back from the commercial, we had Kevin Smith and what's his name? I forgot his name, but the guys from Jay and Silent Bob were there, introduced by Chris Van Vliet, who was making his AEW on-screen debut, I think. I'm not sure if he was at the All Out pay-per-view, but he's done a lot of really good interviews over the years with wrestlers. Good to see him in AEW. Guy is definitely really good at his job, so very happy for him. We had Jack Evans and Angelico confront Jay and Silent Bob, and then we had Private Party show up to make the save for Jay and Silent Bob, and we had Evans and Angelico back off. So yeah, they announced the whole Clerks 3 movie with Chris Jericho having a role in that movie. So I believe they said October 13th, 15th, something like that. I'm not sure, but there you go. Clerks 3 with Chris Jericho coming out soon. We had an SCU video package with the White House in the background. Nice little promo here from these guys, although I'm not sure why they were unable to get any closer, but I guess, with security, they can only get so close. And then we had a WCW-like promo, which I thought was really cool, a throwback to WCW Nitro, where you had Tony Schiavone interviewing SCU on the stage, and then we had the Lucha Brothers pop in and talked about how they're the best tag team in the universe. We had a fight break out between SCU and the Lucha Brothers, people trying to separate them. Dean Malenko made a cameo. Then we had more commercials from both shows at the same time. Then we had, when the commercial break ended, we had the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, shown in the backstage area, getting ready for their match. We had Chris Jericho talking with LAX, Ortiz and Santana. No more LAX, just Ortiz and Santana. We had Jericho talking about how important the match was to them. And then we had an NXT commercial, and they were doing the picture-on-picture. Next up, we had Adam Page versus Pac or Pac. I'm still not sure if it's Pac or Pac. Jim Ross called him Pac. We had Hall and Nash shown in the crowd at NXT. The Street Profits were shown arriving with Bianca Belair. And meanwhile, on NXT, we had the match between Pac and Adam Page. Crowd was definitely into Adam Page as the babyface and booing Pac. The announcers were talking about how this was Adam Page's first match since losing at AEW All Out. And Jim Ross said he needs to get over that hangover. Meanwhile, on NXT, we had Johnny Gargano picking up a victory. Was it Shane Thorne? I believe it was Shane Thorne who he was facing, and that was what was going on when Adam Page and Pac was getting started. We had, on NXT, we had a promo for SmackDown, a bunch of advertisements for that. Then we had Candice LeRae coming out for her match with Candice LeRae coming out for her match with Shayna Baszler. And while that was going on, we had Pac and Adam Page still going at it. Shayna made her entrance with her entourage, and back on AEW, Pac ended up using a low blow followed by the Black Arrow, no longer the Red Arrow, hitting the Black Arrow and then his Brutalizer submission to pick up the victory over Adam Page. And Adam Page is now on a little bit of a losing streak in AEW, while Pac is 2-0 in AEW. Mike B with a $5 super chat says, Shanti didn't shatter any of my dreams. I'm not planning on having kids. So anyway, I'm taking back my title with the mandible claw cat paw smack. There you go. Mike B, the brand new NoDQ Super Chat Champion of the World. Thank you for that, Mike B. I really appreciate it. And Nicholas Easy with a $6 Super Chat. So Nicholas says I guess we're going to say the Rooster Punch or the Cock Punch, but we'll say Rooster Punch. 12-time champion AEW, says Nicholas. Thank you for that, Nicholas. I do appreciate it. We had the AEW women's match to crown the first AEW women's champion. The Dr. Britt Baker came out on commentary. We had Nyla Rose with fire pyro for her entrance versus Riho. And we had both women's title matches going on at the same time here for a while. The Candice LeRae and Shayna Baszler match looked really good from what I could see. I tried to catch as much of it as possible. And quite frankly, I was more interested in the NXT women's match. I feel like if I was a casual viewer, I would have turned over to the NXT match. Just felt like a better match from what I could tell. They did the whole, big versus small story with Nyla Rose versus Riho. Nyla almost got herself DQ'd. She was trying to bring out steel chairs and using them. I'm not sure what was up with that, why she would risk getting DQ'd when the championship's on the line, but I don't know. The Game is on 100 with a $5 super chat says, Cole and Riddle killed it over the Cody match. Women's match, LeRae Baszler was better than the Niho match, and AEW ended with WWE 2010 roster and AEW lame, he says. Well, there you go. The Game is on 100. We'll say, since he's mentioning WWE 2010, we'll say via the Jack Swagger ankle lock, the Game is on 100 is the brand new NoDQ Super Chat champion. Now, let me go ahead and finish my thoughts here on this match. Both matches. Candice LeRae was putting up the fight against Shayna. Shayna ended up getting her in the submission. Candice almost managed to break out, but in the end, she tapped out. And Shayna Baszler is still your NXT Women's Champion. Interesting to me that this was the outcome. I thought this was going to be perhaps the title change finally. They're building up Io Shirai. Io Shirai picked up a victory earlier. I think I forgot to mention that over Mia Yim. And they're building Io Shirai as a future contender, but apparently she's a heel. So you're going to have heel versus heel now. Anyways, Shayna's reign of terror continues. Meanwhile, on AEW, we had lots of near falls. Rio got hit with a DVD from Nyla Rose, but she kicked out. Somehow, you would think again, the story of this match was the little person fighting Goliath. David versus Goliath, basically, with the women. And Riho kept kicking out of all the big power moves from Nyla Rose. And then pretty much out of nowhere, Riho won with the double knees to the face. Unfortunately, a lot of inappropriate comments on social media about Nyla Rose. I know a lot of people have issues with her life and what she's done, which is not cool. Let her do what she's gonna do. I don't think it's cool to bully her and make fun of what she does with her life. So, yeah, it's kind of messed up. But, yeah, you get that stuff on social media, people making their cracks or whatever. Anyways, I don't know what to think about this because, they've been building up Nyla Rose as, this monster, and then she gets beat here. And if you're going to go with Nyla Rose, go all the way with her. Make her the champion. Push her as a monster. They're making the same mistakes that WWE did with Nia Jax. Nia Jax could have been this female Andre the Giant. And you could have done this with Nyla Rose, and you basically have just ruined it. She's just another person on the roster now. And I don't know. I guess this is criticism from me. Like, I don't really feel that much invested in Riho. Like, I think AEW should have maybe shown some video packages with both of them, quite frankly, just so casual viewers can have a better understanding of what they're all about. And I don't really feel like AEW did a good enough job of building them up and giving people a reason to care about them, other than the diehard fan base that follows all their stuff and knows every little aspect of their careers before they got into AEW. Ken Terminated by Google with a $10 super chat says, Rift, I don't know who is a 15-time former champion, so I'll pick on a NoDQ personality. Ken forklifts a pallet of soda, lands on Gamison, and then sends to Caitlin's house, winks at Caitlin. Well, Caitlin's not a soda person, so that soda's going to go to waste, I guess, unless you're sending the championship to her house. I wasn't sure if you were sending the soda to Caitlin. I'm not sure. But anyways, thank you very much for that super chat, Ken. I really do appreciate it. Maybe I just completely misread your super chat there. And somebody's saying, don't be a suck up about Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose is a man. Okay. I firmly believe, and I'm going on record in saying this, I firmly believe people should be allowed to do whatever they want to do with their lives. As long as they are not hurting another human being, whatever they want to do is their thing. You don't have to like it, but respect it, and don't insult them for what they do with their lives. If they're happy, then more power to them. So that's my little rant there. If somebody's not hurting another person, whatever a consenting adult wants to do with their life that's legal, they're not hurting somebody, then let them do it. And that's that. That's all we're going to talk about that. Let's get back to this segment here. So after the match, we had Nakazawa interview Riho. He said he wanted to ask her he tried to start with an interview here, and he tried to get her to do her interview in Japanese, but then Nyla attacked both of them from behind after the match, and then Kenny Omega, of all people, made the save. So interesting. Again, I don't know why he was doing this. I mean, I guess they have history, but I don't believe this was really explained very well. Maybe it was and I just missed it, but I'm like thinking, why is Kenny Omega out here? I just don't think it was explained well enough. But yeah, overall, I thought this could have been set up a little bit better. As far as all the championships go, you know, if I had to criticize AEW in their decision making, I think, you know, the tag team thing with the tournament, I like that, but I think that they should have not rushed to crown champions, and they should have done more than just a battle royal and then another match, and then that's how you come up with your number one contenders. I think they should have just done a little bit more and done more video packages to establish the characters. Mike B with the $5 super chat says, KO punch to get back my title. Every time I read my title, I think of that time Nia Jax said that in that infamous promo. Super Namek says, Aaron, they did explain the relationship between Omega and Riho. All right, well, again, I guess I missed it then, or they just, it was confusing to me. So I'll just leave it at that. So then we had the entrance for the main event match. The Young Bucks came out there, had their pyro with the money. The match was announced as far as time limit goes, with TV time remaining. Meanwhile, on NXT, we had Pete Dunne be attacked by Damian Priest. So it looks like they will be feuding. Adam Cole was interviewed backstage about the cast that he was wearing during his match with Matt Riddle. We had Undisputed Era show up, and they were a bit concerned about the tag team title match, and they were wondering about Finn Balor, and Cole was like, screw Finn Balor. They're going to focus. The focus is on retaining the tag team titles. And Adam Cole gave him a little bit of a pep talk and told them to get into the zone. Then we had a tag team title promo to set up the main event, and this was happening at the same time as Chris Jericho making his big entrance, although wasn't quite as big of an entrance as I was expecting for the first TNT show. On NXT, we had the rapper Wally or Whale, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He was on SmackDown a year or two ago in that rap battle segment with the New Day and the Usos. He did the introduction for the Street Profits. Really cool entrance here. Crowd was very hot for this. He was doing the whole shtick, when I say street, y'all say profits. Crowd was very much into it. And we had the six-man tag team match, which was very quickly interrupted by Jon Moxley, who was advertised for the first AEW show on TNT. We had Moxley show up. They started brawling. Moxley and Omega, they fought in the crowd. Kenny got a broom and was sweeping it, a little reference to his cleaner moniker. And then they were fighting in this backstage VIP area. And at this point, we had Moxley pick up Omega and hit his Dirty Deeds DDT. I'm not sure what it's called now, the something shift, whatever it is. He hit the DDT through the glass table that was there. Yes, a glass table in the VIP area. That was quite brutal. And that made the match 3-on-2. The Young Bucks against Santana, Ortiz, and Chris Jericho. The paradigm shift. Thank you for that. The Bucks made their big comeback. They were holding their own, but in the end, 2-on-3. Too much for the Bucks to handle. Judas Effect, Chris Jericho, and the team formerly known as LAX pick up the victory. Afterwards, all hell broke loose. It was pandemonium. We had Cody come out to attack Chris Jericho. And again, this is me nitpicking, but Cody got powerbombed onto 2 chairs by Chris Jericho earlier, got hit in the head with the championship belt, and he's dressed in his street clothes, looking totally fine, just running down there and attacking Jericho. Like, he couldn't even sell the beatdown for 1 week. Literally, after getting hit in the head with a belt, getting powerbombed on 2 chairs, he's just running back out there in his street clothes. He's totally fine. So I thought that was pretty lame. But, they were doing this big angle here, so whatever. I don't think that this was necessary with Cody coming back out. Just my own opinion. Sammy Guevara came back out, hit a low blow to Cody, so apparently they're enemies again after he shook his hand earlier. Okay. We had Dustin run down to make the save for his brother Cody. And then we had the appearance of Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger in WWE. And this was something that was pretty much leaked out several days ago. So not really a big surprise if you were following NoDQ.com. Oh, Mike B with a $5 super chat says, KO punch to get back my title. Yeah, I already read that, Mike B. He was asking if I missed it or not. Jack Hager, formerly Jack Swagger, showed up, and they had a podium there, and Dustin got powerbombed onto the podium, and then Jericho hit the Judas Effect to Cody. Again, I don't think the Cody Jericho stuff was really necessary. They hit home the beatdown earlier, and I thought that was good enough. You could have just had Dustin come out to help the baby faces, the Young Bucks, and then he gets attacked by Jack Hager, or Jake Hager. So yeah, I think it was a little bit overkill with Cody and Jericho, but overall, really good stuff here. And Jim Ross even had a holy shit blurted out when Jake Hager made his appearance. Virtue says it was a very Nitro-esque ending. I agree. It did feel like Nitro with one guy running out and then another guy running out. And like I said earlier, the interview segment on the stage also felt very Nitro-like. which was cool. It was a nice change of pace. And then we had an NXT overrun. AEW Dynamite went off the air. I'll go ahead and do my letter grade here in just a minute. We had the finale of the NXT Tag Team Titles match. Street Profits were getting near falls. They came very close to winning the titles, but in the end, Roderick Strong interfered, and that led to Undisputed Era hitting the high-low to retain the tag team titles. Clean sweep. All members of Undisputed Era retain their championships. No title changes on NXT. So there you go. Darren Frazier with a $5 super chat says, "Oh, you didn't know? Mr. Frazier is here. Super kick to Mike B. Low blow to the ref. Take a title. Sip of the bubbly. And stole JBL's limousine." All right. So I'm going to do the letter grade here for AEW Dynamite. I thought it was a great first show. Not perfect. It would really take a lot to be a perfect show. I did have a few issues here and there, but overall production I thought was really good. Looked big time. You set up some storylines. I actually felt, now I haven't watched NXT, like I haven't really been able to focus on the bulk of NXT. I just saw parts of it here and there. NXT felt more like a takeover event, longer matches, minimum storylines. AEW, I felt, was more sports entertainment than NXT based off what I saw. I thought AEW did a really good job for the first show. I'm going to give them a solid A-. A little bit short of an A or an A+, but I thought really good first show for AEW, and we'll see if they can keep the momentum going. I thought Jericho did great. And I love the appearance of Jack Hager at the end. I keep calling him Jack Hager. Jake Hager, formerly Jack Swagger. So nice cliffhanger ending with Jake Hager debuting. That was good. Let's see. Mike D, not Mike B. Mike D says, was just reported CM Punk signed a deal with WWE backstage show on Fox. One step closer back to WWE, baby steps. I think it's a matter of when, not if now. Well, there you go. And no CM Punk on this show. I don't think we're going to see him on Friday Night SmackDown, but, you know, CM Punk working with Fox, doing that show, definitely could be a sign that maybe one day he'll go back to WWE. And I really like the camera angles on AEW, as Curtis Butler mentioned. So let's go ahead and see what you guys thought about AEW. Alex Boney gives it a B. Nicholas gives it an A-. Jeremy McGill gives AEW a C. And Bradley gives it a B for bubbly. Harley gives AEW a B. Blood Raven gives AEW an A. Michael Wayne says B+ for AEW. Mike B says NXT was better. Kev Dog gives it an A-. All right, so what did you guys that watched NXT and were really focused on it, what would you give NXT this week? I'm not giving it a letter grade because I feel like I got to give my 100% focus to the NXT show to be able to give it an accurate review. But, I mean, it looked like a pretty darn good show. I mean, it looked like a takeover quality NXT episode. Tic Tat Tat gave it an A-. Israel gave NXT an A. Mr. Anderson says A for NXT. Mike B says solid A. J Spin 401 NXT B, and Nick with a D-. Gary says NXT was a B+. Felt like a normal show, he says. All right, so now the final question for those of you that watched both shows at the same time, flipping back and forth. In your opinion, which show won the first Wednesday night battle? Asking you guys in the chat room right now, which one do you think was the dominant show? D. Ross says AEW. Colin Andrews says NXT. Mike D says NXT. Christian says AEW. Daniel says AEW. Jeremy McGill says NXT. Dapster says NXT. J Spin 401 says NXT. Nick says NXT sadly. Michael Wayne says NXT. Power Packers 90, surprise, surprise, says AEW. Shy Guy 020 says AEW. Okay, guys, you know AEW's in trouble. If Power Packers 90 ever says anything bad about AEW, you know AEW is in trouble because he is like the biggest AEW fan there is. Media One Software, AEW. 90stalgia says AEW, and the game is on 100 says NXT. So it's pretty split. I'm looking here in the chat room, and overall, it's very split down the middle. Some people preferred NXT, some people preferred AEW, but the bottom line is everybody wins because you got something to be excited about every Wednesday night now. You got 2 quality wrestling shows. One is a little bit different from the other, but they're both going full speed, both shows, both productions trying to give you the best product possible. So in the end, everybody wins. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, tell a friend, spread the word, buy a shirt to support NoDQ.com, NoDQ.com/merch, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all sorts of stuff over there. I will be in Los Angeles Friday night for the Fox premiere of Friday Night SmackDown. Good old JM, Jeff Meacham, will be joining me, and we will be giving our thoughts on the show. Oh yeah, Tommaso Ciampa returned at the very end. I forgot to mention that. Ciampa came out at the very end and had a stare down with Adam Cole. So now Adam Cole has 2 potential opponents, Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa. So nice ending there to finish up NXT. And yeah, it went about 2 hours, 15 minutes with that overrun. A lot of wrestling content, but a lot of good stuff this week. So check out both shows and keep spreading the word about wrestling. We'll see how the ratings go. I'll see you guys Friday night, No DQ live stream, hopefully with Jeff Meacham, where we will be recapping the WWE Friday Night SmackDown debut on Fox Network, on location in Los Angeles. So see you guys then, and thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate your viewership and support. Take care, everybody.